Hospital at home is, for us, it's where, as UCLH as an organisation, we can send a team out of nurses, therapists to support the community teams and work with patients in their own home. So we have a care pathway that has the patient at the centre. The vision was that there were patients that didn't need medical input on a daily basis, but they maybe needed more nursing input or therapy input, and we would visit them in their own home up to 3 to 4 times a day.
Hospital it's all right when you're first admitted, and for the first 3 days, 4 days, nobody likes to be in hospital, they fear, a lot, about being in hospital and missing what they used to do at home, It becomes boring. If I felt that I was getting better, from my accident. Of course, it's suggested to me by the nurses, William, we're wanting to see you outside. She came and put that notice on my cupboard.
So when I discharged him, he was ready to go home, but not quite safe to go home. So I looked at him from a safety point of view, brought him home, did his medication for a couple of days, and then handed him over to the district nurses here in his house. Before, everything was done via paper. The district nurses never saw the patient beforehand, never got a handover, nothing.
And it may be that the hospital at home team just take a patient home that evening and just visit them one day the next day, but it's supporting the discharge of the patient. If it prevents them staying an extra night in the hospital and means that we can get them out and work with the teams in the community with them, then we will do it.
I just think it's a fantastic way to look after patients, particularly those with long-term conditions. So patients with respiratory diseases could be looked after in their own home. And psychologically, I just think that makes a patient feel much better, and physically their health will improve also.
Hospital's a terrible place to get any rest, because there's all kinds of disturbances going on all night with people coming in, going out, checking on this, that and the other. Actually being in your own environment allows you to get better rest. As long as you've got clear contact details and you know who to phone and that's reliable, then I think patients are greatly reassured by that.
I've had 2 decades of experience in the community, and it really does work. People manage and recover quicker in their own environment. With some patients it's the transition we're doing, because they're going to be learning some new skills that maybe couldn't be learnt at home.
I see it as a transition from care in the hospital to coming home. I was set up by Linda in terms of getting my mindset right for taking my medication, using the BiPAP bit by bit. I got to learn how to do it myself with Linda's help.
It stops you retaining CO2. Charles could have actually lost his place here, and Charles wanted to come back here, so that's part of my job, is to give him the power to come back. Because everybody kept saying, there'll be no way he can go back to where he's from, he won't be able to manage.
Made me quite nervous.
Yeah, he'll have to go into a home, and that was just like a red rag to a bull.
Well, it was horrible,
because we were saying, no, this is his home and this is where he wants to be.
Yeah.
We had already got the condenser in a hotel, so there was no reason why they couldn't have a condenser. The BiPAP is to keep his airways open of a night time, because he can be a CO2 retainer. Charles proved everybody wrong, and he could do everything himself, literally 2-3 days before he even got back here.
If they've been flagged up as a potential hospital at home, we explain the service to the patients and the family members, so they get to know us before the discharge.
They're in a virtual ward, so they're not fully discharged from our care until after the hospital at home stay is completed. So even if they needed to come back at any point, there's a window of opportunity to just bring them back, and they don't become a readmission because they're still admitted.
I'm one of the respiratory nurses here who has been looking after Mr. Moore. We saw him on a Friday and we wanted to discharge him home. He's well known to one of our community respiratory nurses who would be able to go and see him at home, but obviously not until the Monday. So our concerns were whether it would be safe to discharge him over the weekend. So that's when we really looked at the hospital at home scheme. We really wanted a qualified nurse to be going in over the weekend, and that's what they could offer us, and which meant that we could discharge him.
So every day the hospital at home team go through the patients that the consultant has out in the community in their own homes with them and updates them.
I definitely recommend it because I know that there's a lot of work in terms of developing the service that's made it safe and robust. We need to be looking in a targeted way at those patients who perhaps need a few days of support after they get home, but a rehabilitation, perhaps a confidence builder. That would apply to people who've had major surgery. That would be a reasonable group of people to use it for, so a bit of nursing support or therapy support at home. It may be that there are much more minor procedures where, in fact, we can almost negate the hospital stay apart from the direct care that is needed.
Typically, the sort of patients that I think are ideally suited to those who are still requiring intravenous treatment, typically intravenous antibiotic therapy. And I've had a lot of success with that, and I think that in my experience of using it, it's been extremely effective, and the patients, high levels of patient satisfaction.
The staff are dynamic, they're personable, they come to the ward, they look for patients who need help, and they go out of their way to try and make it work. So it's been great, and there's no crazy bureaucracy or delays to transferring people home, and I've been very pleased with it.
I thought it'd just be like you're at home with your machine and get on with it, you know what I mean? Like, very pleasantly surprised to be looked after so well.
It makes a lot of difference. I'm in the surroundings of my own flat. You can move about, make yourself some bowl of soup or something, or
So we are passionate that it should go forward, and I think it's just such a worthwhile service.
For me, the vision has always been about the district nurse meeting with the patient in their own home with our teams and handing over with the patient. And I think we have achieved that already. I think there's opportunities to achieve it with many more patients.
We need to build a culture and almost like a coalition of the willing. You need a group of like-minded clinicians who understand what it's about and who are motivated to use it. Because I think there's a degree of nervousness if you've not done it before, but if you've got experience of using it, you can realise how beneficial it can be.
When you're thinking discharge, think hospital at home. We have an assessment criteria, and if we say yes, then all well and good. If we say no, then we can facilitate you in another way of discharging that patient safely.
We need to make sure that patients are always cared for in the most effective, safe and compassionate way. That means being in the tower only when they need all the input of daily consultant input, the access to intensive care and all the imaging facilities that we have. As soon as we can safely move them close to home with highly trained nursing staff, with our hospital at home service, we need to do that so they can be close to their friends and family, still getting top quality care.